Welcome to the NDIS Property Australia podcast. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the NDIS Property Australia podcast. Today I'm here with Nyomi and Donna, and we're going to be talking about all things contracts and the process of buying through us. So Nyomi, do you want to get us started just by telling us a little bit about your role here?
I am Nyomi and I am contract support. So I am the person that you go to when you need copies of your contracts or when you want to find out dates and when things are due. I'm also the one who will be emailing you and calling you to chase up those things as well.
Well, we'll just get started with, I guess, the initial EOI and deposit stage of things.
Yeah, so obviously when people want to buy a property with us, they fill out their expression of interest, needs to have their full legal name of each purchaser, all their contact details, ID for everyone needs to be provided as well as the solicitor of in the state that you're going to be purchasing the property. And once that's all filled out and provided to us, then we send that on to the builder along with a deposit receipt.
And is it WA that doesn't need a deposit?
It depends. Generally speaking, WA doesn't require a deposit for the builder, but the land developer may require a deposit. And the builder may require what's called a letter of comfort, just to state that they're willing, that they've got money to go ahead with a purchase.
Yeah. All right. Then
with the EOIs, this is not the contract.
No.
This is just an expression of interest.
Yep. The same.
Yes, there is a deposit that's paid, which is refundable. Yes.
Yeah.
Except for Alice.
And also, we'll come back to that in a minute. And it's a case of if you decide this is not what you want, you can decide not to go ahead with it. So because it is not part of the contract.
Yeah, it's
So
sort of
what
just
would
like
be-
securing the...
Yeah, it's just showing that you are really interested. You're not sort of just a tire kicker. So this helps everybody right down the line. It's not just us, it's everybody else, the builder and everybody else who's involved. So whether they go ahead and do the extra work or not.
Yeah.
So there is an exception, you said?
Yes, one of our builders, Ellis Developments, has a non-refundable deposit. It is on their EOI form.
Oh, okay. Right. So that's, but majority of the builders don't.
Yeah. I believe the deposit's used to create the initial draft contracts.
That's right.
Because
Yeah.
the contracts are made using the details that you've provided on that
That's
EOI.
personal.
Which is the next step.
Yep.
Now you send the EOI to the builder.
Yep. Yeah, so as long as they've got the correct details on there, a solicitor, and we've provided ID, it all gets sent off to the builder. They liaise with the land developer if you're getting a land and build contract package.
Which most of our stuff is.
Yeah, which most of our stuff
it's
is.
a build package,
And they will do up draft contracts, and these days they will send them to you via DocuSign so you can electronically sign them.
So the best routine is, and I've heard men say this to certain builders, etc., is initially send the full document, the contract through, so the solicitor can read it, so the buyer can read it, so anybody else, the lender involved, they can all read it.
Yep.
And then once everybody's happy, that's when send it through via DocuSign and sign off all electronically.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, contracts are issued out.
And then they get reviewed, as Donna said, by everyone involved.
Yep.
They get signed, they get sent back, and then once they've been countersigned by the developer and the builder, we then work off, we can establish a time frame. Most land contracts will have a date when your land finance needs to be completed. So that's usually the first date that we're chasing up, making sure that your finance is ready to go for the land contract. And generally there'll also be a settlement estimated date. It's usually 21 to 30 days.
Yeah.
Is the usual finance, is it 14? From
21 usually.
21.
Yeah. Because this is bigger than what it used to be. It used to be 14, but banks like at least 21 days.
Yeah.
To process things, stamp, pass on the next person, stamp, pass on the next person.
Yeah.
But, each contract is different. It all depends on, the two parties.
We've got some that are 45.
45. 90
really?
we had a couple of
I haven't
had
even
a couple
noticed
with
that
90.
before.
Yeah. So
Wow.
Obviously, because I'm going to say maybe they've gone to the development, gone, hey, we're getting a combined loan for the land and the build, so we need a bit of extra time.
And the fact is, these builds are not super quick. A house and land does take time because of all the extra processes being an NDIS property. So, the buyer has plenty of options in regards to how much time do they want to get finance. So that's something that, that's on their side as well.
Yep.
And then, finance approval, so then it's unconditional. The contract goes unconditional.
Yeah. So once their land finance is all ready to go, usually their solicitors will notify the seller's solicitor that they're unconditional, ready to go, ready to settle. Obviously, then it's another few weeks between, around 21 days after that, when the contracts settle, which will happen if the land is titled. By the developer. If not, then obviously the settlement has to wait until the developer's titled the land. But generally, it's 21 days after finance or 14 days after settlement of after title registration. Sorry. And once that's done, everyone gets notified, and we just move on to the next process, which is the settlement. Once that's all settled, we've received settlement confirmation from the client or the client's solicitor. Then the builder gets notified that they're ready to go. If their build finance has been approved, then it also gets sent off to the builder as well, and then they're ready for their part of the whole.
And then it's
contract.
a deposit. It's a 5%.
It's the initial deposit invoice from the builders, which is usually 5%. Then gets issued to the clients to pay, and that payment is to cover all the preliminary paperwork for all the behind the scenes things for build approval with council.
Plans
Plans
to make sure council then checks to make sure that how they're putting it on the particular block actually is legal and in the right spot where they say, just to marry everything up. So during this particular period, because there's so many stages, Nyomi, you send emails out to the clients just to say, well, this is where you're at now, so that your next steps are. So you're always being informed of what to prepare for, and that way your purchase is flows a lot better than we're not reactive, we're more proactive, and that's what Nyomi is very good at, making sure that you know what's required. So it works really, really well when you're informed. And the other thing that I've noticed too is it'd be great as a buyer to make sure that your solicitor includes us in every email and contact between the builder. So if everybody gets notified all the time, all documentation, because we keep a file of everything to make sure that everything has been ticked and all our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So as a buyer, you let your solicitor know especially, and your lender know that, of course you're purchasing it through us, so therefore, but just say to them that we definitely need to have us involved in the email chains. So because that can be very, very confusing if we get left out. We're chasing our tails, annoying everybody unnecessarily.
Yes. Then you won't have to have me emailing you or calling you every week going, can I please have a copy of this?
And it just
Unless
helps
you
it
really
flow.
want to talk to me, in which case, sure, I'll email you every week chasing the same piece of paperwork.
So then after paying the deposit and everything, it's BA prep and lodgement.
Yeah. Once everything's done, you've paid your 5%, you've settled, you've got your build approval, everything's ready to go. Then it's in the hands of the builders who will start working on their working drawings and engineering. Generally speaking, BA approval and prep takes about 3 months from settlement.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the current issues, that can go a little bit longer.
Yeah.
There's not as the surveyors are all overworked, the valuers are all overworked, the engineers are all overworked. But generally speaking, 3 months from settlement to reaching a decision with the council, and they provide the approval notice.
Yeah. So then after that, they actually start.
After that, between BA approval and construction start is around 4 weeks, because that's when they start ordering their materials, booking in their tradies, getting everything ready. Obviously, once again, timeframes are estimates because everybody's working very hard to get everything out. And the rain and the flooding.
And COVID.
But yeah, generally speaking, between BA approval and construction start is around 4 weeks. The builders do send out construction start email to our clients, letting you know that they're ready to go. They've started their prep work on site, and it goes from there.
Yeah, so then the next part is probably more your area that you'll know more about.
Construction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Donna?
So basically it's a case of, as the build progresses, and you as the buyer will already be aware of this because your lender will definitely make sure that you'll be aware of it. So at each stage, and the builder usually sort of works out what stages they like to work with, that you, the buyer, the client, have to sign off to say, yes, that's done, and then it gets inspected and the bank goes, okay, I'll pay that section of money. So basically it's a similar thing to what we work with. So slab is very important, so that stage. And of course, then we've got the frame. Now, if you're in the southern states, the usual, or the southern end, southeast Queensland end, the usual routine is the slab goes down and then there's the frame. So you've probably seen it in the states where you've got just a timber framework going up. But in North Queensland, it's a little bit different. And I only just learnt this myself because I couldn't understand after building my own home why theirs was different. But of course, the wind rating's different because of cyclones. So they don't put a timber frame on a concrete slab. They actually use blocks. They then put the roof on the trusses and then the roof, and then they put the frame inside. So, and they always make sure that they don't want the weather to upset the trusses too much. So the rain can really upset timber, as we all know. So they're very, very adamant that they want to make sure the weather's going to be fine. So when they deliver any timber, it's not going to be lying around the ground too long. So if the weather looks fine, they'll get a delivery. If not, they'll wait. So that's the routine in the southern states. The frame goes on the slab, or not so much, in southeast Queensland, and then, but up north it's a little bit different. So, but then the inside, what takes the longest? I mean, you see the house being built really quickly because you can see the frame goes up. So here I go again. The frame goes up, and then the brickwork goes up, and then the roof goes on. But that looks great, quick. Then it looks like it's just sitting for a month. It's just sitting, but they're doing all the internal stuff.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, so that's your standard anyway for most houses.
Yeah, and then it's pretty much you just follow it, what's going on and everything until...
And pay and sign and pay and sign and pay. Basically, yeah.
Until handover, pretty much.
Yeah. So it's just a case of once everything's done, and then they also go back and do a quick check. And I mean, if anybody's watched The Block, we know that at the end, construction's finished. Yeah. They do a little quick check. I don't know about if they put those little coloured spots all over the walls, but there's always things that need to be finished off properly. Yeah. And of course, then that final signature of buyer says, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and it's all got to match compliance too.
Yes, compliance is very important. So there's compliance with just normal construction, and then there's NDIS compliance. Yep. Or,
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of inspections to get done to make sure that the house is, going to pass.
Yeah, and there'd be extra inspections because it is an NDIS.
That's,
I believe there's an inspection before.
I think there's a before and there's an after.
There's an assessment, I think, of the plans and the site, and then after, before handover.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's about the whole process, isn't it?
Yeah,
that would be it.
Yeah. Any tips, Nyomi, for buyers from what you've seen?
Keep everyone in the loop.
Mine would be sign the contracts as soon as they get to you.
Yep.
Sign the contracts, don't wait. Sign them straight away.
Well, that was the other thing too, increase the prices all the time, you know, so definitely if you're going to go through with sign the contracts for the simple fact that, and we all know, we hear it on the news all the time, everything just seems to be going up, so.
Yeah, I think concrete's now at like a 60% increase in price or something like that.
A lot of the other suppliers and tradies are raising their prices minimum 30%.
Yeah.
And we do have a builder who has advised, our clients to go unconditional on their contracts as quickly as possible to try and lock in the prices so that they can start ordering their supplies. But unfortunately the current state of the industry is that there's an increase in work and a slight decrease in employees. The builders are trying to find tradies, and there's just not as much out there, and the suppliers are enjoying their businesses with the increase in prices. So unfortunately, that trickle-down effect is going to affect the buyer in the end.
Yeah.
Okay, to summarise kind of everything that we've been speaking about, the main points are just making sure that you've got all your ducks in a row when you start. Make sure you've got your 5% deposit ready when you fill out your EOI, that you've got some idea of what kind of finance you need, that a solicitor in the state where you're looking to purchase land, making sure that you've got money ready to go for settlement, for your 5% build deposit for the initial invoice for that. And just making sure that you're ready, you've got some legal advice ready to go, or you've familiarised yourself with the kind of things that need to be done to purchase land and build packages. If you've got any other questions that we can try and help with, we do have our podcast previous episodes that could certainly help guide you, and just maybe give us a call and we can see what we can do.
But I think that about covers it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, ladies.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure that you are subscribed and following us so that you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this episode with those that can benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.